Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's always a pleasure to follow my honourable friend for Cardiff North, and I'd like to congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Gower, for securing today's debate. I know, as an avid Welsh rugby fan and former Wales international, she will have enjoyed the match on Saturday. It was a stunning win and a great way to kick-start the St David's Day celebrations. Eddie Jones led his England side down the M4, got stuck in traffic along the way before coming completely unstuck against a Welsh side determined to stop his chariot. We were given little chance of winning that match, but as the Welsh always do, we rose to the challenge and we triumphed in the face of adversity. But today's St David's Day, I will give you.
Yeah, very generous.
Thank you very much. It's incredibly generous of him. And I congratulate Wales on their victory at the weekend, which was mighty impressive, a real demonstration of power. Does he agree with me that there is a huge opportunity going forward for Wales in terms of the renewable sector particularly, and to refound itself in the future through offshore wind and onshore through hydroelectric?
I do agree with my honourable friend. Wales was, of course, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. It should be the cradle of a green revolution. Unfortunately, we're dealing with the most incompetent and short-sighted government in living memory, who refused to go forward with the Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon. I think that sent us a clear signal about what really makes them tick. Madam Deputy, but today's St David's Day debate is marked with sadness following the loss of our good friend and colleague, the member for Newport West. He had a razor-sharp intellect and a rapier-like wit. He was an outstanding parliamentarian and passionately committed to social justice and opportunity for all. A lovely man who always had a helpful word of advice for us new kids on the block. He will be sorely missed. Madam Deputy Speaker, just like I had complete confidence in the 23 men in red on Saturday, I do have confidence in my fellow countrymen and women to rise to the challenge of Brexit, but the challenge is truly daunting. We are 2.5 years on from the referendum and fast approaching 29th of March. We're also 2 years on from a general election when the Conservative manifesto promised to set up a new UK shared prosperity fund to replace EU funds after 2020. But with just 29 days to go until we leave the EU, we know little more about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund than we did in June 2017. Like much of Wales, my Aberavon constituency has benefited hugely from European money. From the Bay Campus in Jersey Marine, the Sunken Gardens, Toddler Play Area and Aberavon Beach, the Croesero Community Enterprise Centre, the Cognation, mountain bike trails in the Avon Valley, and the Transport Hub and Port Talbot Magistrates Court. They would not have been possible without European funding. Between 2014 and 2020, West Wales and the Valleys was set to receive from European structural funds investment worth more than £1.6 billion. Yet nearly everything about the Shared Prosperity Fund is still to be worked out. We still don't know how much funding will be available, how it will be divided across the country, what activities will be eligible for support, or who will take the decisions on how the money is spent. There is a huge fear that this will not just be a financial grab, but also a power grab, and that the Westminster government will use this opportunity to reduce funding for areas that need it most and to claw back powers that sit naturally with the devolved administrations. Deep-seated concerns over this led to the creation of the APPG on post-Brexit funding for nations, regions and local areas, of which I am truly proud to be the chair. The wide-ranging review that we carried out heard from 80 organisations across the UK, including the Welsh Government, councils in Wales and the Welsh 2UC. I have in fact written to the Secretary of State for Wales back in November seeking a meeting about the findings of our APPG and have yet to receive a response. Those representations were unanimous in that the UK Shared Prosperity Fund must comprise not a single penny less in real terms than the UK and UK funding streams it replaces. Westminster must not use Brexit as an opportunity to shortchange the poorest parts of the UK. Equally, the UK government must not deny devolved administrations the appropriate control over funds. Local decisions must not be made by a bureaucrat or by a Tory government sitting at the other end of the M4. The government's inaction cannot continue. They must provide guarantees on the Shared Prosperity Fund. Of course, one group of people who know very well about this government's inaction is the steel workers in Port Talbot, Llanwern, Trustra and right across Wales. They've gone above and beyond to save our steel industry, but their actions have not been matched by the Westminster government. When unscrupulous pension advisers took the opportunity during the pension transfer to swoop in like vultures and rip off steel workers, the government did nothing. Now there is a very serious risk that thousands have been conned into transferring out of the scheme, almost always against their best interests. It is imperative that steel workers are notified of this so that it can be remedied before the opportunity is missed. But the government's inability to support steel workers doesn't stop there. At the height of the steel crisis, the UK government consistently showered steel workers with warm words. But since then, they have failed to create a sector deal for steel, and last year, less than half of the steel bought by the government came from the UK, despite British steel being the best in the world. That's simply not good enough. Disabled people in my constituency have also been badly let down. Personal and independent payments are there to support individuals with the extra costs of living associated with a disability. But the system in place now is working against disabled people instead of for them. 3/4 of people in Wales who challenged the DWP's decision to stop or reduce PIP were successful in having that decision overturned, which just shows how fundamentally broken the system is. And in Wales, 1 in 10 people waited more than a year to win back money that they were initially denied, a dreadful failure. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm a proud Welshman. I was born in Tredegar in 1970. My grandfather on my father's side was a coal miner in the Welsh valleys, while my grandmother was a district nurse, the backbone of the NHS. My grandfather on my mother's side was a railway signalman in Anglesey, supported by a grandmother who was truly a rock of the family. Their never say die attitude and commitment to working hard for their communities has been passed down the generations. And it is with that spirit that I will continue fighting hard for my Aberavon constituents in Westminster. We are a proud, unique community in Aberavon. Even Banksy picked us out last year as a worthy home of one of his wonderful creations. But, like every area, we need a UK government and a Welsh secretary that will stand up for Wales. And that means more than anything that we desperately need a UK Labour government. Happy St David's Day to all.